Welcome to Beyond the Margins, Inside the Mind Shaping Modern Finance. I'm your host, Cherise Arnason, and today's episode is all about transforming the way we think about money, systems, and scalability. Joining me are two dynamic voices in financial education, Jonah and Jeremiah Dew, founders of the Cash Compound and the Banking Brothers. These two have built a movement around teaching people how to become their own banker using the infinite banking concept. And they're doing it with energy, purpose, and creativity. Jonah, Jeremiah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you. You both have such incredible energy online, from your YouTube channel to your live workshops. And I have to ask, where does that passion come from? Was there a moment that made you decide to dedicate your work to helping other people take control of their money?
Well, that's not exactly where the performance came from, but the passion came there. Yes, for sure. So we're very passionate about what we do, and we learned this process as adults, and we realized that we were in a world that we didn't even know we were failing in. Basically, there were tools out there and tricks that you could use that were time-tested and traditional, super old, that were going to get us to where we wanted to go. But actually, I have a background in performance anyway. So if you like some of our stuff, maybe it's because there was theater, there's been sports entertainment. I MC a lot of things. And if you go back far enough, maybe mom made us perform in the living room a lot in front of her. So maybe that's how we learned it.
Yeah, I was going to say I had a couple of those performance things in the living room growing up. And I think just as I got older, right, it's a little bit of monkey see, monkey do, big brother do. So I can do that too, if I tried hard enough, And so that's really where a little bit of that performance came from.
Wonderful. So you've built a strong brand and message, part education, part empowerment. How do you balance that personal connection with the systems and structures needed to grow, especially as your audience and client base expand?
That's a great question. It's really insightful, because when we're talking about some of the tools and rules on how the financial operation works in North America, US and Canada, it can be boring. It can be stagnant. There's a lot of numbers on a page. There are a lot of contracts, or what's the market doing, or interest rates. But one thing that I've decided on, and I think it took Jonah a little while to catch on to this maybe philosophy of voice and brand, was no matter what we're talking about, I'm just going to be me. And so if I'm just me, then I won't get tired of it. So I'm not going to make up a new idea of who I could be in the marketplace, in the world, in social media. I'll just be me. So that's not maybe traditional, right? There's not a lot of suits and ties with what we do, but we are talking about people's money and managing it well. And so I think we can evolve as we age, as we grow, as children get older, as we look at new ways to save and spend money. Those are important things that evolve with us. But if I'm always me, then it can be something that I can deliver with honesty, integrity, and that passion that you mentioned before.
Yeah, I think putting yourself into like the traditional systems, into your marketing campaigns, into the things and the voice that you portray out there on social can go a long way. People relate to those that they see out there that they believe are real, that they believe are down to earth, that they believe can actually help them. And so we've kind of just stepped into that, poured into that. Like, we're just going to be us, and we're going to help those who relate to us. We're going to help those who want to be helped. It might look a little different than your traditional financial advisors or planners, but we can absolutely help if that's what you're interested in.
Absolutely. And I think that people appreciate the authenticity, that they see, not that you're just trying to meet a certain image, but that you're just being real down to earth people that are willing to help and help people get better. So that's awesome. Now, you're both right in the middle of this massive wave of financial awareness. People are craving control over their money and looking for new ways to learn. What big shifts are you seeing in how people approach wealth education and financial strategies today?
There's probably a positive and negative to that. The positive, of course, is we live in the age of information, right? And AI. So if you want to fact check us, something that we're always talking about here in the U.S., right, from a political standpoint, if you want to fact check us, then you can ask the internet, what's going on? How are they explaining this? Do I understand? Use all the bold terms, as I would have said in high school reading books. I'm looking for bold terms that I may not understand and making sure I have the right image in my mind from those definitions. So you can fact check us. On the other hand, use social media in the comments, well, things get dangerous. Things get crazy out there. So there's a lot of skepticism too, right? People don't want to be scammed, and they're willing to call things they don't understand scams. So that's a negative thing, because a lot of times we're not using our resources that are out there in the tools to really go check on what's guaranteed to happen, what's iffy, what's market-based, what is influenced by taxes and commodities and trading and indexes and things like that. So I think there's a positive and negative, especially as generations change too and shift. There are people that are my age and younger who are realizing we're not going to do exactly what mom and dad told us because it's not working out so well for them.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to mention. You asked it in your question, so I'll just kind of repeat it. I think that people are really craving control. And in the generation where we are now, information age, I think that you can look to the generation that came before you, your parents or grandparents, and you can see that kind of the typical methodology for accomplishing wealth or retirement or passive income or whatever goal that you're shooting for maybe wasn't achieved so well by the generation right above you, parents or grandparents. Maybe the pension that retired grandpa is not available to me. And so I can't say that that's the path I'm going to take. I don't even have the same options anymore. And so I think people are just craving guarantees, safety, control, because they know those are the things that are actually going to set them up for success as they move forward. And we live in a world now where over the last 30, I guess it's more like 50 years or so, a lot of the financial instruments that have been taught and practiced and preached and pushed are, they don't have those safeties and guarantees surrounding them. They have a lot of skepticism. They have a lot of fluctuation. They have a lot of
they have dips. And they have a history of not working out for my entire career. And so if you get to a place where you lose a chunk of money over the course of a 2008, a 2009, a 2020, you're like, holy cow, I don't know if I can recover, or I don't know if I should put all my stock and investment in personal stock and investment into these things, proving their trustworthiness for my entire life.
Absolutely. So what would you say is your offering to the market? What makes you different, and how do you position yourselves to meet the needs of the niche that you've chosen?
Yeah. So one of the things that we love to talk about, we mentioned it just the last question you asked us, is we love to help people realize that there are financial products out there that will offer you guaranteed results, guaranteed growth, guaranteed cash flow. And so that's actually our offering. Hey, about a decade ago, we were in a place where we were just like you. We were looking for something else. We saw the traditional paths. We saw what our parents did, what our grandparents did. We're now working and working hard and maybe starting our own business, being entrepreneurs. And man, it would really be nice to know that where we're putting our money, there was something that was guaranteed for us. And so we started on that journey looking, and we were able to discover a few things, and then was able to plug into some systems and read some books and find a mentor that really helped us and got us down this path. And so now, a decade later, we're offering the same for anyone who's interested in listening to our voice, watching us on YouTubes or Instagrams or whatever, right? It's all about where you're putting your money, where you're placing your money, where you're keeping your money, and what is guaranteed to happen based on what you did there.
And now, you had mentioned when we spoke the other day about the infinite banking system. Can you explain that for our listeners who might not understand what all that means?
What do you mean you don't understand something that's infinite, right? Okay, so we'll do the best we can on a short podcast.
Perfect.
So the infinite banking concept, first off, as a definition here, the infinite banking concept was created as a term and an ideology by a man named Nelson Nash. Nelson passed about 5 years ago, and what he realized was always there, completely changed his life and framework for how to save and spend money. We call it the save and spend system. What he realized was you finance everything you buy. Most people don't realize that between them earning money, and in North America, we're pretty good at that. We have a much higher quality of life and standard than people in other places in the world. But the Western world and North America, we're all pretty high income earners compared to other parts of the world. and then we consistently earn money, put it into a third-party bank. Now, this is so fundamental and rudimentary, it'll skip over people who are not really listening. We put it into a third-party bank, and then we probably go invest. We write checks off of it, we spend off of it cash, and we invest from there. We don't realize that the banking system wins big time every time by us storing our money in that environment. That third-party environment lends out our money, and we all owe credit cards, cars. We all have mortgages and loans for personal assets and things like that, or liabilities, assets
Right.
or liabilities. But the bank, the third-party bank out there, whether it's TD, whether it's RBC, whether it's Bank of America down here, they're making a fortune off of interest because you have to finance everything you buy. You either pay third parties interest for borrowing against money that they have, or you spend your own cash and you go down to zero. And that fundamentally is where infinite banking comes from. It's not the product, but it is the process. Maybe Jonah can jump into the product now that'll let you be the banker in control.
Yeah. So the product that Nelson Nash talks about in his book is actually a product that's misclassified by a lot of people. It's a weird product. As soon as I say it on this podcast, we're going to have some listeners out there, I'm sure, who are going to say, there's no way it can be that product. That product doesn't work like that.
Right.
I know about that product. It can't do it. But the product that he mentioned that you can become your own banker with is actually dividend-paying whole life insurance. And that's weird. That's
Right.
straight up weird because I said insurance and you're thinking, no, I got car insurance and health insurance and vision insurance and dental insurance. And I know how these insurances work. How in the world would whole life insurance be any different? And how would I be able to save money there, spend money there, grow money there? You said all these money terms and you told me insurance, right? It's weird. But the reason he says it's this product and what we've come to realize about this product is actually whole life insurance works more like a banking institution than it does like insurance. It's actually the only insurance product, the only one where the cash at the end, the check at the end, the money at the end is guaranteed to come out. All the other insurances I mentioned, whether you buy travel insurance when you travel or phone insurance or workers' comp insurance, I'm running out of insurances. I got to keep thinking. Pet insurance, there's all sorts of them. But all the other insurances only pay you a check at the end if the bad thing happens.
Right.
If you do not crash, you'll never get a check from State Farm or Allstate or Geico, right? If your pet never gets sick, you'll never get a check from whoever you've got your pet insurance from. But see, in whole life insurance, the check at the end is guaranteed. There's only one thing that ends a whole life, death, right? Graduation, as Nelson Nash used to say, graduate, right? There's only one thing that ends it. And so that means the check's guaranteed. If the check's guaranteed, there are some ways, some design things that you can do, certain companies, certain policies, where you can say, hey, insurance company, since that check was guaranteed at the end and you know you owe me that money, will you let me have some of that early? And that means you've now got the ability where you can save your money inside of insurance with a guaranteed payout coming one day and spend the insurance company's money on the way to that payout. And that really has unlocked so much for us individually, for the people that we've helped, for thousands of other people that are practicing the infinite banking concept. Because as we like to call it, it gives you the opportunity to save your money and spend someone else's at the exact same time. And that's really the product behind the infinite banking concept once you get the actual concept down of, I'm losing money. Left and right, doesn't matter where I put it, I'm losing it. The only way I can stop losing it is if I control it.
That is very interesting. So for people who might already have a whole life policy, like my husband and I got one several years ago, but it wasn't presented the way that you guys have explained it, is there an opportunity to start the process of doing the save and spend concept like you guys have mentioned?
Yes, actually. So there are specifics between companies and between styles of policies. Don't get us wrong there, right? You may have car insurance and so do I, but you've got liability, I've got comprehensive, and you've got safe driving discounts out there, and I've got AAA because I'm always getting towed, right? So there are different bells and whistles and levers on the policies. However, because the end payout of whole life is guaranteed, there is a growing equity. We all understand that. If I say a real estate word, equity, there's a growing equity that is there because they have to pay out the end, the face amount, the death benefit. In life insurance world, they just call it cash value. cash value is accumulating and accruing. And in our country and in Canada, you can borrow against that and leverage against the policy, maybe by using a third-party bank or by the insurance company itself sending out some of that money. So you've got it. Yes. That doesn't mean all the bells and whistles are there. It doesn't mean maybe it was the best suited policy based on several other various factors. And we help people uncover those things on free consultations. But you got it. You're right.
That's excellent there. Yeah. And being able to get that advice from somebody who has experience rather than somebody who's just trying to sell you a policy. You know what I mean? I think is where, from my perspective, the market hasn't served me or family well because, you know, they just tell you, oh, you need to buy this or, you know, this would be a good option for long term, but no perspective on this is a better option for you or you need to, you know, consider these options with it as well. So I like that. So let's talk about what's working really well for you right now, whether that's in your marketing, your outreach, or the way you deliver value to customers.
We have been doing social media for years now. So social media is not like years and decades old, but we've been doing it for years because in the world of TikTok and Instagram, it's very young, right? So we feel like veterans sometimes, and we have amassed a following of 200,000 or so plus followers on ITIGTT, FB, and LinkedIn. Okay, that's the only one that doesn't rhyme. Okay, so so all those platforms, we're either the Cash Compound or the Banking Bros, depending on which one you like. Look for us in both places. But that has gone really well. Of course, there's a pro and con to that because a lot of short form content, which we've all gone to, vertical content, short form reels and TikToks and things like that, don't tell the whole story, right? One concept, one idea at a time. And that can kind of confuse people, but we appreciate folks who stay around and click like a few times and comment and ask questions. But our YouTube channel has long form content. And just recently, we've also opened up something a little bit more traditional. And we've got a new webinar series. So we're excited about that. And those are working very well for us.
Awesome. So have you found ways to monetize the different podcasts and webinars and stuff that you do?
Yeah, that's a super good question. We've kind of gone back and forth with this and kind of debated whether or not we want to monetize certain aspects of it. Obviously, we're running a business here, right? Which is important. Yeah. But like we talked about on this episode, we offer free help to people. Like we actually do want to help you learn how you can save and spend your money at the same time, learn better and different options, learn how to guarantee that you'll have X amount when you're 50 or 60 or 65 years old. And you can totally do that. We want to offer that to folks for free. So it's about which areas of the business do you monetize, right? When we first started about a decade ago, we decided to make a very big video library and we monetize that for a little bit. Okay, we can teach, you know, a bunch of different concepts in this financial space, specifically about the infinite banking concept, and we'll give half of them away for free. But if you want the advanced stuff, maybe they're behind a paywall. So we've done that for a while. Eventually, we ended up lowering the paywall or giving it away for free because, you know, we like to help people. But where we stand today is, so yeah, like little things like our YouTube channel is monetized. So I think on YouTube, that just means you're going to get a commercial a few times in there or an ad a few times in there in a 10-minute video, right? So that's different because it really doesn't take away from our content. Pretty much everybody on YouTube expects an ad in the middle of a 10-minute video. So no big deal. But over on maybe Instagram or TikTok, it's like, well, hey, a lot of people will report if you monetize and you try to create dollars off of your TikToks, a lot of times maybe your reach goes down. Maybe you don't meet as many people or your videos aren't, sent to as many people. They don't have as much reach. And so on a lot of platforms like that, we really haven't tried to monetize because we've had a little bit of traction there. And we've got a philosophy that the more people we can help, right, the better off our business is going to be. And so it really just kind of depends. It's give and take, hit or miss, platform by platform to figure out if we're monetizing, if we're not, what does that look like for us? How can we stay true to who we are and really help people without seeming like at every turn you got to give us $50 more, you know, that sort of thing. So our main bread and butter of having one-on-ones, doing family consultations, looking over your documents to see what you've already got, to see if you can use it this way, or if you need to do another one, or how can we help the kids? All of that has been free and will remain free for the foreseeable future.
That's excellent. When you think about your internal systems for the business, onboarding, client tracking, or communication, what are you most focused on improving or automating in the next few years?
Yeah, all of it, I guess, with the right answer there. I think the key word in your question was, what can we automate in the next couple of years?
Mhm.
And I think that with so many different options, now that AI is so prevalent, so much of your system can be automated. And so we've got a big belief, right? If you don't automate it or delegate it, then you've got to do it. And so what we
Right.
want is a system where we can focus on helping the individual, helping the real person where they are, and we don't have to focus so much on what the email says after. Or are you getting an email? Or did the email show up? Or did the email get bounced? Or what email address did it go to? Or does that make sense? And so anything that we
Absolutely.
can automate in that regard is going to be helpful for us. So we are actively automating more. We actually, even this last week, automated a new kind of like a welcome packet, kind of a recommendation packet. That's just got some new automation to it, which has been really cool to kind of work through. But a lot of that is because we want to help as many people without having to do so much on the back end. I'm sure a lot of people out there listening to us understand what I mean by, you have a phone call with somebody and then you're supposed to send them the follow-up and you're dreading
Mhm.
sending the follow-up because you're like, stink, there was like 10 things we were going to follow up with. Obviously, AI has helped in that regard. Now you
Right.
can put AI in the call and AI will send the follow-up for you, or tell you what the
Mhm.
follow-up should be. Even little things like that are helpful. But it's more of that in almost every aspect of business when you're business owners, that you're like, well, if somebody calls and they say, I want to talk to you in 2 weeks, call me back. Well, what does the reminders look like? And do I have to set up those reminders manually, or can the system do it? Can it notify me? Can it book ahead of time? Can it, that sort of thing?
So, what would you say is one of your tools that you would recommend to other business owners out there that you've really noticed a difference with improving your workflows in your business?
Hired help. We've got some technical tools, obviously, and I'll mention some of them, but we've also developed a capability of being able to communicate to folks who are remote. And in the last
Okay.
year, that's really changed our business as well. It's actually eliminated and reshuffled some of our organizational structure local and what we need to
Okay.
happen. And we've got several folks who are working with us. Jonah mentioned automate or delegate, right? We have
Mhm.
several good people who are working with us who are not local to where we are at all, and they've really helped us change things. From a CRM standpoint, we found so much love and opportunity from the community around Go High Level. A lot of people have picked
Okay.
that up in the recent years, about the last 3 or 4 years. Go High Level has really burst on the scene, and we're utilizing that. We utilize Google Docs. We utilize Slack as a communication tool. So that's our
Mhm.
internal messaging system and platform. And several of those tools, and then hiring professionals to help us use those tools. Look at the tutorials. Let's hire a professional, and let's walk through and talk through how those things can be most effective for us. Those weren't skills that we had at all several years ago, but at the same time, we hired a local coach who has really transformed our thinking to realize we can get a lot of things done that we could not or would not do ourselves, because you
Mhm.
have to learn to use other people and use other systems. We didn't have that confidence. We'd know. And 2 years ago, you'd be amazed at how much difference and what a change we've had on some of the hires, some of the interns, some of the mistakes that we've made before having some of these tools. So it blows our mind every once in a while, and we laugh at ourselves.
Well, I love that mindset of not being afraid to reach out to people who can get you to where you need to go when you don't have that knowledge internally. It's interesting how AI is now playing a bigger role in helping financial educators and coaches streamline all of that. Looking ahead over the next 6 to 12 months, what are your biggest goals with the Cash Compound?
Yeah. We're looking to launch a partnership program here. There are several
Okay.
tangential money aspects that everybody wants to know. A lot of people, when they start with us and they're looking at the infinite banking concept, we actually ask them, or they tell us quickly, look, I have debt. I have third-party bills, debts, and interest that are killing me.
Mm.
And once they get free of that and they can see clearly now the rain is gone, they see a path, it's not the oncoming train, then they're going to naturally ask, because the trust is there, okay, what about my taxes? What about my student loans? So my investments aren't performing the way I want, or I have some questions. Can you guys help me? Because we've been partnering with them on a long-term guaranteed financial aspect. So they start asking us about some other things, some of which we're pretty good at, and some of which we're going to refer out and say, you know what, we know some people in trusts and estate planning, and we're going to partner with that, and we're going to send them over to you. So one of the aspects that's going to take a big boost, I'm calling it now, late 2025, is partnerships with some other great professionals who also help you do other things like protect or grow your money.
Wonderful. So if you could wave a magic wand and fix one major challenge today, what would that be for you guys?
I'd make my brother go away so I could just do it myself.
No, it was funny when you were asking the question. I thought you were going to give me an opportunity to wave the magic wand and like get rid of the first 3 or 4 or 5 years of business and just start at year 3 or 4 or 5 when I already got all the simple and I don't know how to do anything and run a business mistakes out of the way, right? I thought that's where the question might go.
That's good. Well, we can go there if you want.
So you erase the past. That's what you want to do.
No, I just would like to. There's a learning curve, right? When you're not an entrepreneur right out of the gate. I know you were, but I wasn't. I had traditional jobs. I worked for a bank for a while. Then I started working for an insurance company, just regular home and auto insurance, nothing special. And so getting into entrepreneurship, I didn't have a good baseline of how to do it. And so that can filter into so many different areas of life. I was talking to someone this morning and they said, being an entrepreneur is so hard. I was supposed to have a day off today, but you know how that goes. No real days off. And I was like, oh, I do. I know exactly how that goes. And so if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have worked as many Saturdays and late nights. And, you would have set up a little bit of a better routine, and we would have hired help earlier, and I wouldn't have tried to learn so much. We were just talking about the CRM that we've developed and have been using, Go High Level. Well, that was CRM like 3 or 4. So we had to try 1 or 2 or 3 to figure out that was the one that was going to work so well. And so that's so much time and energy and manpower and thought process that, was almost, I'm not going to say wasted because you built off of it, but it was so much energy that if I knew then what I know now, we would have made the better decision from the jump, right? So
absolutely. And I think all entrepreneurs can relate to that. The painful early stages, right, of learning everything. But once you learn that, that's something that you can take with you for everything you do going forward. So definitely a hard time, but rewarding at the same time. As we wrap up, I always like to leave the listeners with something actionable for the business owners or finance professionals tuning in who want to grow faster and operate more efficiently. What's one piece of advice you would give them?
SOPs, standard operating procedures. So how do we take something that we have to do every once in a while or every day and put it into a format on paper so a third-party person or tool, some sort of technical tool, can now perform that action? And as we look at let's just look at our inboxes for a second, people. Right? We've got emails coming left and right. We got stuff from when we were 12 years old and 16 years old still coming in, filling up spots, and it takes room in our brain. So even something as simple as that, but it's something that we all have to look at, multiple times a day, probably. On a work day, we're looking at our emails always open, or the pop-ups are there, or whatever it is. I'd highly suggest that. Or if you can't scale that mountain yourself, find a who, not a how, who can clean that up for you. Because one thing that Jonah and I both probably can say, he probably has something different, but that we can both say is when you're not stuck in the minutia and you've got an SOP or a procedure or some sort of automated recurring filter that can handle that, your brain automatically moves up into a higher stratosphere of thinking and execution. Because I'm not bogged down with that. I didn't even realize my brain had capability to think about something else that we could fix or we could start because we have a new opportunity and I'm not stuck in my email inbox.
Yep. I'll just echo a little bit more. If you can think about all of the cool, fun things and ways to enhance business, but you didn't have to build any of them, I bet you'd come up with 5 or 10 new ways and cool things to enhance your business a week. But if you have to build them yourself, one cool thing that enhances your business is too much, right? Because you're like, well, I have to build it and I don't know how, and I need people and I need money and so I am just echoing what my brother's saying here. Yeah, find yourself people. Write down the standard operating procedure. Make yourself a schedule. I used to get bogged down. This is a real simple one, but I know a lot of business owners out there will feel this. I used to get bogged down by checking the mail. We have a lot of mail that shows up in our office, and so checking the mail is like a thing. There's 20 pieces of mail a day, and so I used to get checking the mail sends me down a, you know what I mean? Like it's just too much mail, and I don't know what to do with it all, and then paper, and I don't, right? So a little bit of just schedule. Well, one, I'm only going to check the mail on these days. When I check the mail, depending on what type of piece of paper it is in the mail, they're all kind of the same. There's 5 different categories. My assistant now knows if it's this type, I do this. If it's this type, I do that. If it's this type, I do this based on our SOP. So I check the mail and I scan it because we use overseas help. So I check the mail and I scan it, and then I don't worry about mail. So something that used to take over half of my day, and I used to let it pile up, big piles, and I wouldn't do it for a week because it was too much, and I've got way more to do, and now it takes me 2 hours, is now something that is accomplished in 10 minutes or less. Doesn't take up any of my mental space or capacity, and I just keep moving with my day and my life, which allows me to think of bigger and better things. I don't have to be so frustrated by checking the mail, right? So just a little example for all those out there who might feel that one.
That's so good. Jonah, Jeremiah, thank you so much for joining me today. You're not just helping people understand money differently, you're redefining how we teach it. For anyone listening, definitely check out thecashcompound.com and thebankingbros.com to learn more about their incredible work. And for our listeners, remember the best leaders aren't just adopting new strategies, they're also embracing smarter systems and automation to stay ahead. If you're interested in learning more about how we can take your business to the next level with AI, feel free to reach out to me at amplifygrowth.com. Just click on the links below. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep pushing beyond the margins.